Blah, blah, blah. Whatever you say.
Welcome. And today we'll dive into a couple of separate malicious compliance stories and their reactions. Coming up we have: was told that I was too uneducated to perform my job. How to break a dress code. And the last but definitely not the least: get my manager? No problem. Hi, this is Derek. I just put the Drama Llama, Fred, back in his pen so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. If this is your first time watching our videos, help me out by watching to the end, and then giving me some feedback in the comment area below. And if you want more of these videos daily, don't forget to like and subscribe, with notifications turned on for this channel. Oh boy, let's get ready for some deep-seated revenge. Jada92 posted: was told that I was too uneducated to perform my job. When I was a teaching assistant, I used to work as a substitute teacher for very unruly classes. AKA, the classes licensed teachers wouldn't accept. I had full responsibility, worked all hours. And my numbers showed that my class was making great progress. I just had some bad luck that caused me to not finish teaching college at that time. Because I didn't have my license. My boss came to me one day and talked about how I was actually too uneducated and inexperienced to teach. And that I must have had someone telling me what to do behind me. I told her I didn't, but she didn't believe me. And told me she'll be watching me like an eagle to see if I was fraudulent, changing grades and stuff. I never did anything to my students. I'm not a cruel person and I didn't want anyone implying that I wasn't doing my job as expected. They all got to the next year with scores higher than we would have expected beforehand. But I started to behave like a beginner student teacher, to my boss only. Asked really stupid questions like, how can I make my class quiet? I'm really too uneducated to know, so can you please help this teacher out by showing it? Knowing fully well that my formerly disruptive class would never listen to her. I called her for everything: a parent wanting to talk to me, a kid who fell down and needed a band-aid, anything. I made sure to tell her I was too uneducated and inexperienced to handle such a task. And I needed to observe a true pro work. My colleagues got in on it too. They started pointing out everything I wasn't allowed to do, but expected to do. And told my boss that she was being very fraudulent by expecting me to do so. In the meantime, I was discussing gamification. The need for programming and English in primary school. Showing older colleagues new teaching methods and digital assistance. All the goodies. After 6 weeks, she was done. She called me to her office. And apologized to me for saying that I was too uneducated and inexperienced. And how she was renewing my contract and got some budget to pay for half of my studies. I was happy to tell her I got a new job that would pay everything to get me my license. And I would get full creative freedom, without being watched like an eagle. This was 2 years ago. I almost have my license and I still work at that awesome school that hired me. After the allegations of being uneducated and inexperienced at my old job. I even got a reward and a trophy from the board for doing exceptional work. And obtaining goals with my students. What are your thoughts on Jada92's revenge story? Please share in the comments below. Here's how some Reddit members reacted to this story. Zorib1 reacted with: at least your old boss apologized and offered to help pay for part of your studies. That puts her a standard deviation above the bosses we usually read about in this sub. Most of those are never wrong and learn nothing. But glad it still ended out best for you. Featherfall101 reacted with: I feel bad for the students you left behind, but if they ever find out what happened to you, then it's valuable lessons that you've taught them. Mainly never stay in a job you are not appreciated in. And undervalued, and that they can, and are, better than others tell them. Good work. The world needs more dedicated teachers like you. Bainine07 reacted with: when the person acting the stupidest is making the most progress in work, smiley face. Props to you for having a passion in teaching and making the education system better. Wasn't that story just crazy? Now let's go on to our next story. Stupidly Ugly posted: how to break a dress code. I broke the dress code at my last firm because of shoes. I got called to the carpet for wearing black Skechers to work. So I started coming in every day dressed to the nines. We're talking cuff links, high quality silk ties, gold face metal band watch, pocket squares, some of the finest bourbon wingtips you ever laid eyes on. I got tailored dress shirts and custom suits cut for F's sake. It wasn't cheap. I did this every day, while making sure to casually point out that the very managers who complained about me were wearing keds in the office. This went on for a few months. The interns and staff started dressing like me. We started comparing notes on tie knots and pocket square folds. We got high and tight haircuts with straight razor shaves. We bought badger hair shaving brushes and eucalyptus shaving soap. The partners started getting embarrassed as we were dressing considerably nicer than they cared to. They had a big meeting and declared the entire dress code dead. Jeans, t-shirts, flip-flops. All fair game unless you had a client meeting. Akamai wholly reacted with. Suddenly I'm picturing everyone showing off their business card. Look at that subtle coloring. The tasteful thickness. Oh my god, it even has a watermark. Okay, that made me laugh. Well played. Green Egg Page reacted with. I worked in a tech support call center and we hired a new guy who would wear dress shirt and tie to work every day except Friday, when he was casual. The rest of us wore jeans and a t-shirt. We all decided one week to show up Friday dressed up. Our boss was freaking out that we were all coming in wearing suits, except Jay, who was dressed down for Friday. My favorite part was when the boss asked me why I was dressed up. I've got a dentist appointment. Found on the Road Dead reacted with. I worked in Silicon Valley 30 years ago at a typical high-tech company in engineering. Everyone pretty much wore jeans and t-shirts to work. Except this one electrical engineer who started coming in almost every day in a tailored suit. Of course, at the time it was pretty common to dress like that for interviews. So we all thought he'd had enough of the BS. There was plenty. And was looking for a new job, also plenty of those. Turns out he just came from a big Italian family, and they dressed well, so he was used to it. Green Firefly Girl reacted with. I was not being malevolent, but one day at work, on a more casual day, I decided to not wear the boring office clothing I usually did, but instead to dress in my normal, more vintage style. It's still dressy, but it's not something I would normally have worn to work because it's a little extra. Patients and staff loved it so much they encouraged me to just wear my vintage style every day. A lot of 40s and 50s styles, circle skirts, pencil skirts, printed blouses, dresses. Saved me a lot of money on keeping a separate work wardrobe, so I complied. It's really a shame your work cut the dress code. I would have loved to see you guys all dressed up in snazzy suits with classy hair and shoes. Grand Wolf reacted with. I'm reminded at the time I went to an interview at Microsoft. Not a job interview, I was interviewing them for a newspaper. I walked out of the hotel dressed as well as I could. Not great, but the suit almost fit. My partner took one look at me and told me to march back to my room and take it all off. She said that if I showed up with anything more than a polo shirt and slacks, they'd think I was a joke and not take my questions seriously. That story was really entertaining. How about you? How did you break your dress code? Now let's go on to our next story. Sad Little Sponge 13 posted. Get my manager? No problem. I've been floating on this subreddit for a while, and finally decided to share a recent experience that has become my favorite so far. For context, I'm a PSAUM, Passenger Services and Unaccompanied Minor Assisted, in an airport. To put it simply, I help both minors, elder and the disabled to their next flight. This didn't happen to me directly, but I was somewhat involved and it was funny. This happened just yesterday. I was assisting a disabled woman in one of the airport wheelchairs with possibly finding a seat on the flight as she was on standby. As I'm explaining the situation to my passenger, a heated discussion breaks out between the gate agents and a high-quality Karen. The agents are trying to explain to her that per the airline's policy, masks must fully cover your face from your nose down, and the bandana over her face was not good enough and they could give her a proper one. Karen argues that she has had this mask on for the past 3 flights, and it was never a problem. The gate agent severely doubts her claim. The arguing continues for a minute more before Karen uses the signature line, "Can you go get your manager? I want to speak to someone who knows how to do their job." The gate agent says, "You got it," and almost skips away to find her manager. They both come back over and the manager addresses Karen one more time, as the agent had already given him a quick rundown of the situation. Manager, ma'am, per whatever airline's policy your mask must cover your nose and mouth fully. Hanging facials close, gas masks and masks with valves are not permitted. We have extras to give you if you need one. Karen, so basically you don't know how to do your job either. The manager breathes a quick sigh, says okay and take over the computer for about 5 minutes, before waving me and my passenger onto board the flight. It wasn't until I walked out of the jet lane and seen Karen still standing in the waiting area that it dawned on me. The manager had taken Karen's seat and given it to my passenger who was on standby. Judging from the screaming and cursing after that door closed, Karen didn't realize it right away either. What are your thoughts on sad little Sponge 13's revenge story? Please share in the comments below. Here's how some Reddit members reacted to this story. Sam Pool reacted with, "That's such an appropriate way to deal with the situation too. It's the only way. You can't make her agree with you. She was thoroughly advised and given a chance to comply. She failed to do so, so the manager initiated the consequence and moved on. These people want the argument. They want the confrontation. Don't give it to them. Say what you need to say so that you can truthfully document that she was given the chance to do the right thing. Then cancel her ass." Ninja Physics reacted with, "I'm glad the passenger that wasn't there to cause a stink got the seat. There's a lesson in there that I'm not sure Karen has learned. There's also a close to 100% chance that if she would have been allowed on that flight, she would have pulled this poop again and made life hell for the flight crew." Agreed. I think if Karens were capable of learning, there'd be much fewer of them. The new computer reacted with, "I've never understood people that go toe-to-toe with flight staff or airline staff. They are 100% in control of the situation. Like you can't make them do literally anything they don't already want to do. If you mouth off to a flight attendant, they can literally have you arrested, not for no reason, And yet Karens think they can manage their way into control. Unless you are chartering the entire plane or own the plane, you have literally 0% control or authority. Many people are learning just now, due to mandatory mask rules, that the power they have been abusing and lording over service workers has been a privileges that can be revoked." And finally, My Slippers Don't Fit reacted with, "Don't you just love it when the manager actually backs up the staff?" Well, there you have it. A perfectly great set of reactions from a bunch of upstanding citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off, thanks for watching. Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. He must have found more stories for me to share with you. See you soon.